Audrey, we're going to have Becky Earhart come do the invocation.
Will y'all bow your heads, please? Lord, we know that man who strives without divine assistance will only find cures that will not cure, blessings that do not bless, and solutions that do not solve. Send us your divine truth to heal us and our land. We pray for enough failure to keep us humble, enough success to keep us encouraged. We pray you keep us low enough so we will always want to look up to you, and high enough to help pull all those around us to a higher plateau of living. Father, keep us in need enough so we will always want to serve, produce, create, and blessed enough to share what we have with others. We pray to keep us weak enough so we will always call for divine assistance and strong enough to bear one another's burdens. Thank you for Rotary and the ideal of service. Please bless this food we are about to share. Bless those who prepared it, those who serve it, and those who have worked to make today's Rotary meeting special. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Becky. Y'all, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. Cynthia's checking it out right now, but we're live streaming live on our Facebook page. So a lot of those folks who are not here today are actually watching online. They obviously can't ask questions of Dr. Artis. Oh, they can?
Yes, they can.
Oh, goodness. I'm interested to figure out how that might work. So y'all can ask questions online, but try not to interrupt. Okay. The health and happiness today, we have a new member, Dave Anatra, coming to give health and happiness and also welcome our guests. Is that right, Dave? Okay, thank you, Dave.
Good afternoon. There are no guests today. However, we do have, I know, at least one visitor. Visitors, if you please stand up along with the Rotarian you were with.
Good afternoon, I'm Catherine Davis, and I have as my guest today Ms. Regina Brown, one of our former members and a former past president of a Rotary Club here in Columbia. She's back in the back, and she is the manager of community relations at Prisma Health Midlands.
I have the daughter Gracie here with me again today.
I'm Kay Shaw, and the Scholarship Committee is very pleased to have today one of our former scholarship recipients. This is Kennedy Fee. She won one of our scholarships in 2018, and she is in nursing at Clemson and doing great. Also with her, we're very pleased to have her dad, Calvin.
Thank you. And now segue over into the health and happiness. It was brought to my attention that Jim Hamilton, who's a former member, it is unfortunate that he is going to be required to resign due to the health of his wife, who's in hospice. So let's keep him and his wife, obviously, in our prayers and thoughts throughout the day and in our prayers throughout the evening. Today's card message from the card committee is caregiving can be stressful. Here's some advice from a wife who lost her husband to Alzheimer's. Do not correct your loved one when their senses come out jumbled. Do not fear their delusions and hallucinations. Do not feel anguished if words or actions are hurtful. It is not about us. They are the ones that are frightened and confused. So please, let's remember the blue buckets on the table to help us reach a new record this year. And as well, you can make checks out to the CART fund to ensure that your contribution is tax deductible. I'll go into health and happiness now. And since we're getting ready to kind of head back to school and kind of coming out of school, and those that either are or just recently come out of college, here's a basic, I don't want to say a thesis, but a student who wrote his proofs of belief using Boyle's Law or some variant thereof. One student wrote the following: first, we postulate that if souls exist, then we must have some mass. If they do, then a mole of souls can have mass. So at what rate are souls moving into hell, and what rate are souls leaving? I think we can safely assume that once a soul goes to hell, it will not leave. Therefore, no souls are leaving. Some religions state that if you are not a member of their religion, then you will certainly go to hell. Since there are more than one of these religions, and people do not belong to more than one religion, we can postulate that all souls and people go to hell. With birth and death rates as they are, we can expect the number of souls in hell to increase exponentially. Now we look at the rate of the change of volume in hell. Boyle's Law states that in order for temperature and pressure to stay the same, the ratio of the masses and souls in volume needs to stay constant. Therefore, two options exist. If hell is expanding at a slower rate than the rate at which the souls enter, then the temperature and pressure in hell will increase until all hell breaks loose. If hell is expanding at a rate faster than the increase of souls in hell, then the temperature and pressure will drop until hell freezes over. So which is it? If we accept the quote given to me by Teresa Mannion during our freshman year, that it will be a cold day in hell before I sleep with you, and take into account the fact I still have not succeeded in sleeping with her, then option 2 cannot be true. Thus, hell is exothermic.
Okay, that was enlightening, to say the least. Okay, thank you, Dave. Thank you all for contributing to the buckets. As Dave mentioned, the buckets, there is a way to contribute with a check to make that a tax-deductible gift. Please continue to eat if you have not finished, but once you have finished, please be reminded to put on your mask. It is City of Columbia law. It is Richland County law for all of us to put on our masks, and we need to be reminded to put that on. We would like to encourage everyone to invite prospective members to the first Monday of every month. Our next Discover Rotary meeting will be on Monday, August 3rd at 11:30 here at Seawells. Please bring a prospective member. Each of us should have received a survey this morning from SurveyMonkey. Brad sent it out from Capital Consultants. This is to let each of us know, or the board know, what committees you all would like to be part of. It'll take you less than a minute. It's very, very easy. You just click, 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 and push send. So please do that. And for example, Becky Earhart, who's done our invocation the last 2 weeks, is looking for people to help with invocation. It's very easy. If you all want to sign up on that committee and be part of it and give an invocation every now and then, she'd love your help. Thank you so much for filling out that survey. Many hands make for light work. A little bit of bookkeeping. Each of us received a quarterly invoice this past week. I've got mine here and I've dropped my check off. And it includes dues, our meals, our Rotary International Foundation gift of $25 and $25 to the annual scholarship fund. We have a scholarship recipient here. I remember the day that you were here going off to Clemson to study nursing. Very impressive, and we're glad to have you back. Thank you for being here. But those $25 donations help our students and our scholarships every year. We give 2 $10,000 scholarships every year for 4 years. So it's a lot of money that we do contribute to these students in their educational endeavors. As a reminder, These are a major part of what we do, not only with the Educational Foundation, but also with the Rotary International Foundation. As you give your $25 or perhaps more throughout the year, you hit an additional level of $1,000 in the Paul Harris Society, Paul Harris Fellowship. When you hit that $1,000 threshold, or perhaps the $2,000 or the $3,000 threshold, and on, you get recognized in a pin ceremony. We're going to have one soon. Our foundation chairman this year is Robin Gorman. She couldn't be here today, but if you have any questions about your current status in the Paul Harris Fellow levels, Robin Gorman is the person to ask. But each of those $25 gifts all add up, and if you give more, you certainly may. We'd love for you to do that. You get a pin recognition for those new folks who've not been here before, but we will do one of those soon. All of these funds are vital throughout the year. You may have also noticed that I mentioned in a letter in our invoices this past week, it's actually green. It talks about the importance of all of these funds. One of the things that the board decided to do this year is we gave everyone credit on the 2 lunches that we missed at the end of the first quarter. But it became apparent to the board that if we continue to do so, that would be financially detrimental to our club. So the 7 lunches that we missed in the second quarter, we're going to give, by the way, it's about $98. We're going to give a credit back to those people who asked for it. But if you don't ask for it, we'd like to keep the funds. So we've only had one person ask for that. It's no questions asked. If you want to get a credit, we'll give you the $98 credit. We've only had one person do that so far, thankfully, because the club needs the funds from the lunches that are not spent. But again, no questions asked if you would like to have that. If y'all have any questions about that, you're welcome to talk to me about it, any board member, or Brad Henry with Capital Consultants. We know times are tough for individuals and the companies that support you all to be here, but times are tough for our club as well. If you're having any trouble paying your invoices, please let us know. We'll work it out. For those of you who do not and cannot pay it promptly, you may receive a general phone call in the next week or two just to make sure that you're receiving your invoices at the proper address and to see if any payment arrangements need to be made. As a financial planner and the president of your board, I have to make plans for the future of this club, and we need to know what our financial status is, so please pay your invoices as soon as possible. That's enough about all that. I want to leave plenty of time for our speaker today that I've been looking forward to since the fall, by the way. But I do want to take 2 minutes, 30 seconds per person at every table. There's actually 5 at one table, 2.5 minutes. I want everybody to take 30 seconds each and introduce yourself to your table mates. Just say a little bit about yourself, 30 seconds, pass it on. We'll be finished with this operation in 2.5 minutes. Go. That was just a quick little introduction to your table mates. We may be doing that more often throughout my presidency over this next year. So I want to encourage everyone to sit with new people every week, so you're not talking to the same people and introducing yourself every Monday. Please sit with new folks. This will help encourage y'all to do that. Somebody did leave a mask last week. This is light blue with white polka dots on it, if somebody can claim it. It's been washed, by the way, by the staff here at Seawells. Okay, now we want to have plenty of time. Let's have Catherine Davis, our president-elect, come introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon. In 2017, Roslyn Clark Artis became the 14th and first female president in the 147-year history of Benedict College here in Columbia. And Dr. Artis came to Benedict College from Florida Memorial University in Miami, where she served for 4 years as the 13th and first female president in that university's 138-year history. Intentional, professional, and thoroughly committed to the proliferation and transformation of colleges and universities that serve underrepresented men and women of color, Dr. Artis brings a depth of knowledge in higher education and enthusiasm for students' success that is unmatched in today's higher education arena. She has led a remarkable institutional transformation that included lowering tuition, increasing academic standards, stabilizing the institution's financial position, streamlining academic degree programs, and upgrading the institution's technology infrastructure. These efforts resulted in Benedict College receiving the 2019 ACE Fidelity Investments Institutional Transformation Award. In August 2019, Benedict College was recognized as HBCU of the Year by the HBCU Digest. HBCU meaning Historically Black College or University. A prolific speaker, critical thinker, and fierce advocate for educational access, Dr. Artis has been recognized for her work locally and nationally, and is frequently engaged as a mentor, lecturer, and catalyst for strategic transformation. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Roslyn Artis to the podium.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I am so glad to have the opportunity to engage many of you. Some of you I know and others I don't know, but every day is an opportunity to make new friends. And so that's what I'm here to do today, and to share a little bit about Benedict College. For those of you who may not be familiar with Benedict College, we were scheduled to celebrate our 150th anniversary this year. Of course, COVID-19 had some impact on our celebration, and so we will be celebrating 151-ish years when we get beyond COVID-19, whatever that means. Wanted to have an opportunity to not only share a little bit about Benedict College, but really to talk more broadly about Benedict College and the role that it plays in our community. And I want to do that in the context of one word: resilience. Benedict College is a resilient institution. Founded nearly 5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, its primary mission being the education of the descendants of slaves, Benedict College has survived worse than COVID-19. We are resilient. Benedict College has existed through the Great Depression. We are resilient. Benedict College has existed even since integration made opportunities available to people of color and other kinds of institutions. Benedict still stands as a beacon in higher education, and one that welcomes all people. Importantly, despite its historic designation as a historically black college or university, it's important that you understand That has never meant exclusion. It has meant opportunity and resilience in the face of political changes, in the face of multiple depressions and downturns in our economy, and even was around in 1918, the last time we had a pandemic. Benedict College is resilient. And despite the fact that I tout myself a change agent, I see no reason to change that. Resilience is what has sustained Benedict College these many years, and it is what will carry us beyond COVID-19. Benedict, like every other college and university in the country, was forced to evacuate its campus in March of 2020. What that meant for Benedict, however, was something slightly different than perhaps it meant for colleges and universities around the country. You see, for those of you who are not familiar with Benedict, let me share some information. Benedict's student population is about 2,200 students, a little over 2,000 students, which makes us reasonably large in the context of a private institution, but certainly microscopic when compared to University of South Carolina or Clemson. So we are a small to mid-sized private institution, 2,200 students. Of that number, 84% of our students are Pell dependent. I don't say Pell eligible, I say Pell dependent, because what that means is that but for the Pell grant, our young people would have no opportunity to attend college. If you understand the Pell multiplier, it means you're twice below the poverty line to be eligible for Pell in the United States of America. So 84% of my students are functioning at twice below the poverty line. In addition to that, 74% of my students are first-generation college students. Their mothers and fathers and grandfathers did not have the opportunity to acquire a higher education. How many of you have sent children to college? Then you must know how difficult the FAFSA is. You must know how difficult the application process is, and you are perhaps available to help your young person navigate that. Navigate the labyrinth of paperwork that it requires to secure aid and attend college in this country. 74% of my students do not have that help. Therefore, Benedict has to assist them with resilience and helping them to seek out and secure the resources necessary for them to be successful. So, low wealth, first generation kids of color, many of whom hail from environments where K-12 education may not have been as competitive as it has been for our children. And I say our children because I'm very fortunate. I've been fortunate to earn an education, fortunate to be living the dream as president of Benedict College, whatever that means. And so my children don't have the same challenges that the students at Benedict College have to overcome in order to be successful. And I have to remember that. My children do not have to overcome the hurdles that students at Benedict College have to overcome to be successful. And so as we set about the process of doing our work on a daily basis, we do it in the context of helping, supporting, guiding, engaging, and ensuring that our students have the tools in their toolboxes necessary to develop the necessary and requisite stamina, if you will, resilience. Because they will go on to be successful and literally change the world. The Boeing Engineer of the Year last year was a Benedict College graduate. Benedict College graduates do great things. Despite where they come from, the value of that education and the experience that they engage in while they're on our campus for 4 years makes them better, faster, stronger, better able to navigate the challenges of our 21st century, highly competitive, technology-driven, largely global economy. And then came COVID-19. It has been, for lack of a better way of saying it, a disruptor. COVID-19 has disrupted our work because Benedict College students choose Benedict because we value a high-touch environment. Most of our classrooms have half the number of students that are in this room right now. So if students need extra help or support, They can raise their hand and reach out to their teacher who knows them by name. That's one of the critical defining features of a small, private, historically black college. We know our students. And as a result of that, we knew what we were dealing with when COVID-19 forced us to close our campus. And so what did we do? Well, we did what we always do. We were resilient. We rallied and we created a travel agency in the president's office, and we purchased plane tickets and bus tickets and train tickets, and we got those kids out of there safely at our expense. And the expense of our trustees who wrote checks, we raised $54,000 in 24 hours, and we got those babies home. Because the reality is, low-wealth first-gen college students can't call their dad to buy them a plane ticket. They can't call mom and dad to buy a plane ticket on no notice. And so I became a travel agent. My team became travel agents. We ran 24-hour bus service round the clock to Charleston, to Charlotte, to Augusta, and to Columbia airports to get those kids out of there safely. I am incredibly proud. I am peacock proud of the work And then we took a breath for about 2 seconds. And then it occurred to us, the show goes on. We've got to educate these kids at a distance. And what we learned rather quickly was shocking. And so, misery loves company, I'll share with you what we learned. I had parents say, they can't come here. Now those of you who are parents in the room, your child can't come here. I talked to parents on the phone who said, they're adults, not my problem. Your 18-year-old child. We had homelessness issues, we had food insecurity issues, we worked collaboratively with the local United Way, with transition, with ministries, with people to place our students in safe homes in the short term. What we thought was going to be the short term. Our kids understood, 2 weeks. I can find a place to hang out for 2 weeks. But 2 weeks became 2 months. And as COVID began to proliferate across our communities, across our nation, we began to understand very quickly that it was not simply a temporary short-term issue. We then were confronted with the idea that our students weren't connected. As I stand here today, 12% of Benedict College students do not have access to broadband or Wi-Fi capabilities in their home communities. That seems odd to us, doesn't it? In a technology-driven economy. It's not just the device. We bought laptops, we bought hotspots, we bought air cards, for those of you who are old enough to remember air cards, to assist and support our students. But hotspots don't work if there's nothing to connect them to. It will not surprise you to hear that in many relatively large areas, swaths of the state of South Carolina, predominantly poor, low-wealth minority environments, there is nothing to connect to. Those are the neighborhoods where you stand by the window to get a phone call out. That's where my kids live. And so what we've been struggling with is lack of connectivity. Many of you with children in the K-12 system, I have children in the public K-12 system here, they've been just fine. They've got MacBooks, they've got access to technology, and they've got a mean mom. So they've been doing just fine. They've been doing just fine. I give extra work, I'm a decent teacher. But for those 12% of my students, they have been completely excluded from the educational experience. They are excluded simply by virtue of where they live. But we are resilient. And as a result of that, I made the difficult and to some extent unpopular decision to reopen our campus in August. Why? Because I have to. Because I have young people who don't have a home and they've lived on somebody's couch or floor for as long as they can, and they need to come back. Because they don't have access to Wi-Fi and broadband, and otherwise they will be completely excluded from the educational experience and not be able to graduate. I have to. Because they are food insecure and have no way of functioning but for the institution they call home. We are resilient. And so we have measured every square foot. We have walked the campus, every elevator, every stairwell, every classroom. We have invested over $1 million in our Wi-Fi infrastructure to make sure that it is both secure and dependable, so that our students who will be logging on from their dormitory rooms to our classrooms will be able to access those lectures and be able in real time to ask those questions and be seen and be heard. Because at the end of the day, that's what most people want, to be seen, heard, understood, and valued as human beings. And that is what we do at Benedict College. I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't want to get COVID. I look a little cowboy here without my mask on, but I would prefer not to get COVID-19 if I can help it. I would prefer that my staff and faculty not be exposed to COVID-19. They prefer it too. They've been real clear. They would prefer it too. And yet, I serve a population of students for whom it is critically important that Benedict College open in August. And so we will be resilient. We will take steps to ensure social distancing. We will ensure the safety of our students. If I see one more piece of plexiglass, I am telling you, as God is my witness, our new reality is almost more than I can tolerate. But you know what? We have a sense of humor. That really helps with resilience. For those of you struggling with it, a sense of humor will help you go along. You look smashing in your masks. Your eyes are lovely. Your hair is amazing. I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse. And we will persevere. We will wear our mask. We will maintain social distance. We will offer our elbows instead of our hands. We will love at a distance. We will send lots of emails and affirmations and messages, and we will function in our new reality because we are resilient. And that's what we do, and that's how we'll do it for the foreseeable future. I am scared. I am scared for a lot of reasons, not just the proliferation of the virus. I'm scared about the impact it has on our young people who have been displaced from what they consider home. And that can apply to any college and university across South Carolina or our country. It will not shock you, parents. They like it in college better. The freedoms they experience on a college campus, the nightlife, if you will, the opportunity to engage lots of different people, the opportunity to be outside of our watchful eyes, mom and dad, is something that most young people desire and they seek out. So they're feeling displaced, they're feeling inconvenienced, and some of them are feeling immortal. And I'm scared of that because we know that young people aren't always compliant. We know they're not scared because they're not my age. And so they believe that they'll be just fine. And that's scary because I have 400 employees who risk exposure if those young people don't follow the rules. So as I stand before you today, I am scared, but I am resilient, and I am committed, and I am compelled to lead an institution that educates students that I know that but for the work that we do every day, they would not have the opportunities they have. And so I am proud. I am grateful for the opportunity to serve as the 14th president of Benedict College. I get a lot of mileage out of being the first female. Listen, ladies, I mean, it's been a while. It only took 147 years. And Benedict, for those of you who aren't as familiar with it, was founded by a woman and didn't see fit to let one run it for 147 years. Let's see, she put up the money and founded it, but nobody thought we had the wherewithal to actually run it. I am grateful for the opportunity, and even though this job is actually really hard right now, I'm still honored to be the president of Benedict College, and I am completely convinced, with no hubris at all, that I am the right woman for the job. Because I love these kids. And I say that because no one could have anticipated COVID-19. I anticipated a weakened IT infrastructure. We knew how to get that done. I anticipated that our tuition was too darn high for poor kids of color, and we got that done. I anticipated that our programs were outdated and that we needed more cutting-edge, STEM-based disciplines so that our students would have a competitive edge when they went out into the workplace, and we got that done. We could see that our infrastructure was falling down around us, and because I have a vice president for advancement who knows how to raise money, we secured the largest gift in the history of Benedict College, and so have been able to completely reface our campus, from paving to IT infrastructure to raising the canopy so you can see our beautiful buildings. We have done the work, and I'm so very proud of that. But so much more important than those transactional management details is leadership. In times of crisis, they are looking to me. They're looking to me as a human being, as a mother, as a president, as a friend, as a leader to do the right thing. And so it's important for me to communicate effectively, to be clear, and yes, to be decisive. So we will open. On August the 10th, classes will start at Benedict College. They won't look like they did this time last year. It won't feel like it did this time last year. But given the totality of the circumstances facing Benedict College and the students she educates, that's the right decision. Now, we're not going to play football, and it's not because I'm a girl. I actually really love football, and we were going to kick butt this year. Let me tell you, I have a new coach and a new field, and I was really looking forward to this year. But unfortunately, we recognize that given the resource constraints we cannot facilitate it safely. We simply cannot. And so I'm spending an awful lot of time reminding young men that they are student athletes. They are students first, athletes second. Now I have to say that over and over and over because they don't buy it the first 10 times. They don't want to hear it the first 10 times. But we're spending some time talking with them about their decision-making process and about why it's so important they stay fully engaged. Honoring their scholarships might have something to do with it too. But we want them to make progress toward completion. This is just a temporary setback, right? We're going to be back better than ever, stronger than ever, faster than ever, and we need them to be prepared. We don't need them to lose time toward degree because those are opportunity costs for people who can scarcely afford them. So we're going to keep talking, we're going to keep coaching, we're going to keep mentoring, we're going to keep guiding because we are resilient. We are Benedict proud, Benedict strong, Benedict connected, and we like to believe we make a positive impact on the community that you and I share. We are resilient. Richland is resilient. Each of you in your respective households are resilient. We will overcome COVID-19. We will have our 150th birthday party, and you're all invited. And we will meet again someday when I can see your beautiful smiles. Until then, be safe, and to God be the glory. Thank you. Questions, I'm told.
Yes, I have a question. If you can hear me, I'll put this on.
I can hear you.
This happened probably 20 years ago, and it concerned me so much back then. And I'm hoping there's been a big change at Benedict since then. But I worked with a young lady from Benedict to go raise money. It was like they matched up a professional with a student to go raise money one day for National Black College Fund. And she told me she had these aspirations to be like a beautician to like the stars maybe in Europe. And what bothered her so much is so many of the students were trying to pull her dream down. And I didn't know if that was still an issue among students who, when somebody has aspirations to do something better, that they continue to do that, and if there's anything being done to address that, or if that is not an issue anymore.
So I think that's a great question, and it really begs a couple of different issues. The first of which is peer pressure. How we control and build and really intentionally design an environment where excellence is the norm and not the exception. So you may have heard in the introductory remarks, one of the things that we did was increase the academic standards at Benedict College. The reality is low wealth doesn't mean low performing. Those two things are not involved in a symbiotic relationship. And so we increased the academic standards at Benedict to ensure that we had a population of students who were serious about their education. And I think that changes the culture to some extent. We're certainly seeing it in our graduation rates and our retention rates. I think the second piece of that really has to do with some of the environments within which our students function and now unfortunately live because of COVID-19. What we have historically seen at Benedict, at least in the handful of years that I've been here, is that students who leave us in May and go home for the summer, we see about a 20% summer melt. That's really too high. I mean, those of you who are in higher education understand that that's really too high. And what happens is they go home to neighborhoods where people say things like, oh, you think you're smart. You're better than us now. You're a college kid. Oh, I mean, so this peer pressure happens within their communities. And when they come back in August, if they come back in August, when they come back in August, we really have to start all over again, sort of reconditioning positive behaviors and understanding that achievement really is important. To that extent, I think COVID has helped a little bit. One, it's put them back in those neighborhoods, which is not a help. However, we have a really intentional, really pervasive engagement strategy. So I'm on Zooms with them constantly. Our staff are on Zooms with them constantly. My retention coordinator calls me the other day at 6 o'clock in the morning and says, Doc, I have an idea. I think you should hold your Zoom at midnight. They're really active at midnight. I was online from midnight to 2 and I engaged 51 students. I think you ought to do your next chat with the press at midnight. You do? Oh, okay. I'm old. But we are really finding strategic ways to reach them where they are and make them and let them know we do care about you. We love you. We miss you. A college campus is not a college campus without college students. That is not the environment I set out to work in. And so I think some of that culture change happens over time. So I'm pretty pleased to say, no, I don't think that would happen today on the campus of Benedict College for a whole host of reasons. Yes?
President Artis, could you just talk a little bit about Trump coming to the campus this past year? And we read a little bit about that, and if it's got the name Trump on it, everybody's going to be all over the place. But could you just describe how that came to be, the result, kind of your perspective on it?
Sure. So October 24th, the day that will live in infamy, I got trumped. Just let that settle. I got trumped. And regardless of your political persuasion, the reality is we are an educational institution. We are a higher education institution, and that means everyone's opinions and values are valued. And so we agreed to host the 2020 Presidential Justice Forum, which was an opportunity for everyone seeking the presidency, including the incumbent president, to speak on the issue of criminal justice reform, a single issue forum on criminal justice reform, which we believe is a critical issue, particularly in our community. And so we sent the invites out to everyone, and they accepted. Who would have thunk? A sitting president, quite frankly, who's unopposed, right? So all of the Democratic candidates responded pretty quickly because they're all in the fight for the nomination. 4 years prior to this, the same 2020 organization had hosted the same forum across the street at our peer institution, Allen University, and of course Trump declined to participate at that time. So this year, he said, you know what, I'm coming. And part of that was he just signed the First Step Act that let a lot of people out of jail and made some significant inroads in criminal justice reform, and he wanted to brag about it, right? He wanted to come to a community on a campus where people were directly impacted by the legislation and have an opportunity to take a bow. And so when we learned that the president was coming, we said, little old Benedict? Well, we're not big enough to host the President of the United States of America. Is there not another venue? But he was adamant. He wanted to come to Benedict College. And so the governor's office gave us a call and said, listen, I trust you will do nothing to embarrass the state of South Carolina. And I said, no, Mr. Governor, I would never want to embarrass the state of South Carolina. And so we hunkered down and we hosted the president along with 10 Democratic nominees. Every single one of the Democratic nominees was present on our campus for that couple-day period. And I'm so proud because, you know, certainly the news was blistering. People feel the way they feel, and part of that is the sort of guttural response to President Trump really hits people here, not here. And so we had a lot of people who were really angry and really upset, and they said things like, how dare you allow him to traverse the ground of a historically black college where our ancestors bled and died? Well, now, if that's the benchmark, he's got to govern from a helicopter, because our ancestors bled and died all up and down the East Coast to build this country, right? And so this notion that not on this ground doesn't really hold a lot of water. And then we talk about hate and the things that are perceived as hateful. And the reality is that suggests my kids aren't smart enough to make those distinctions. It suggests my kids aren't smart enough to hear multiple perspectives and decide for themselves whether this person is someone I can support or not. And I refuse that. I reject that notion out of hand. And then the final piece that was sort of interesting is this notion that had he gone to Harvard or Yale, nary a word would have been said. But because it was an HBCU campus, the backlash was swift and it was strong. And it was interesting to me because, again, that presupposes that as African Americans, or particularly students at HBCUs, they didn't have the ability to distinguish between what was good or bad or right or wrong, or that they shouldn't have the right to hear all perspectives and then decide for themselves. And so we stood up and we took some fire. I still have some holes in my back to prove it, but I stayed committed that my kids deserve the same opportunities that everyone else has to hear opinions and to decide for themselves what they believe or don't believe and how they vote and how they carry themselves. And I think we will be ultimately stronger for it. It still stings. People are still somewhat unkind, and of course, the more that President Trump makes statements that seem to be the opposite of what people generally believe in, the more difficult that will be. But I stand for my kids' ability to hear and see and learn and grow and think critically about the issues of our day. And they will decide for themselves how they want to vote and how they want to handle themselves. But it certainly was a difficult couple of days, but I would, for all that you may have read and seen, what you did not see was any form of demonstration on the campus of Benedict College. I called the students together in an environment just like this, and we had a conversation, and we said, the president is coming. We are not the University of Virginia. We will not have it. We will not tolerate it. You will stand up. You will behave. You can tap out. You don't have to participate. You can stay in your room. You can go home for the weekend. You can do whatever you want to do. But what we will not do is embarrass the legacy of Benedict College on national news. The world is watching, and we will show them who we are. And we did. Not a single peep from our students on that campus. The president was in and out in about 41 minutes total. There were all sorts of stories about, oh, the kids were locked up. No, but when the presidential motorcade is on the move, everyone shelters in place. Think about how narratives move, right? Anytime a president, now his was 26 cars long. It'd take a minute. I mean, he brought a convoy. But when any presidential motorcade, Democrat, Republican, or other, are on the move, everyone shelters in place. And so this sort of hyperbole around the news that our kids were on lockdown was not accurate. This notion they were denied food. He came at 2:21. He was off the campus before 4. And our cafeteria closes at 1 for lunch and opens at 6 for dinner. It wasn't a meal time. I mean, of course the cafeteria was closed. There's a president on the campus. And so, unfortunately, many of the accounts you may have read were not entirely accurate. But I would tell you that the account you didn't read was that there was any kind of uprising or demonstration on the campus of Benedict College. My young people conducted themselves in an exemplary fashion. I'm so proud. And those, about 41 people
Last question. I want to thank you for sticking to doing that. That's really awesome, especially with everything going on around other universities. My question is the bill that Trump passed to help the HBCUs. How has that affected Benedict College and other HBCUs?
So it's had a tremendous impact. The reality is this administration, quite frankly, has increased funding to historically black colleges to a very significant degree. In fact, the largest degree that we've ever seen in the history of the United States of America. And so, politics notwithstanding, when someone does something nice for you, say thank you. That was $56 million, thank you. And so that bill permanently funds HBCUs in perpetuity. It is now a law that historically black colleges and universities will be funded forever. We used to have to go through an annual appropriation process. That act, signed into law by President Trump, ensured that we would be funded forever. So, huge, tremendous impact. And I'd like to think, you know, we made a good impression of Benedict, and that's why I signed it.
Dr. Artis, here's a pen. Just write it down. Thank
You're
you.
wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Artis. You make us proud, and Benedict College has made us proud for all the achievements that it's done over the last year, and years under your leadership, and all the strides it's making. Thank you so much for being here today and enlightening us all on all the wonderful things going on at your campus and your resilience. Thank you so much. Catherine Davis, who is our speaker next week? President-elect Catherine.
Our speaker next week is Dr. Kathy Coleman, who's at the Clemson University Research and Education Center.
Thank you so much. We'll end in song with Rusty.